Alright, welcome to part 2. In this video we'll be refining our block out and turning this weapon into a high poly. So I'm going to switch out of my high quality viewport to the standard one, and I'm going to gradually turn the pieces into more detailed pieces and high poly pieces. So the easiest piece we can turn into a high poly right now is this here. So let's do that. So let me just show you real quick. If I just put on the turbo smooth modifier, which essentially subdivides the mesh to make it look smoother, if I apply it now, as you can see, the shapes really collapse, but you see how the modifier is smoothing its shape out. And this is because the reason it collapses is because it doesn't have, supporting loops that support the shape of the object. So for instance, here we have more geometry running through the face here, and we will see if I apply turbo smooth now that this area is going to be more retained. So let me just select it. Yeah, and as you can see, it's kind of more retained, whereas we don't have any support loops here, and the area is not very retained. So the way we can fix it is by adding some loops that are called support loops. So we'll hide unselected here, select these faces here, and what I will do now is I will hit inset, and as you can see we have our first set of support loops. I will connect these two vertices like this. I'll connect these two vertices like this, and these two, and I will go by angle and just inset here as well. Okay, and now what I can do is I can take my Swift loop and I can just run support loops through the object, and we'll see some slight changes in the smoothing, hopefully. And one more here. Now if I add my turbo smooth modifier again, see what happens. The shape gets some really nice round edges, but the shape is pretty much still there, and this is really what we wanted to achieve. And as you can see, if I now unhide it, it looks really close to the concept in terms of smoothness. Everything is pretty smooth, and let's see how many iterations. I think 2 iterations are enough. And this is how you turn your stuff into a high poly. And the reason we do that is because later on we are going to make a low poly, because as you can see this is really high poly. And we are going to do actually one more thing. If you enable isoline display, you will see that we have this ugly thing going on here and here as well. And the one way to fix it is to just go into here and just add one more loop around here. And if I enable it again, as you can see, we have a nice line going through here now, and it's completely isolating this ugly area over here. And it kind of looks more smooth now also, if you pay close attention to it. Anyway, as you can see, this is really high poly because we have so many loops running through. This is not optimized, and this doesn't look nice as well. So what we will do later on is we're gonna just make a low poly that is hopefully gonna look good. And the reason we do the low poly is that we're going to make a normal map baked out of our high poly mesh. So the high poly information are going to be baked on top of our low poly information, or low poly mesh. I'm sorry. So this is why we do our high poly, just to bake out the smoothness of the object onto our low poly. Okay. Let's move on to this piece here. I think this is going to be easy as well. So let's connect this. Let's connect this. And we have symmetry here now, so everything I do will be also made on the other side. And that's really helpful. I'm gonna go to the left viewport and maybe do some tweaks here. Okay. And now we can just first add some support loops here. Here as well. Okay, and here. As you can see, it looks like in the concept pretty much. What I will do is I will decrease the amount here, just so I can select this here. Alright, actually let me backtrack a lot. So I just have this here. I'll just select these guys here and then hit inset like this. And now I will just do the same again, because now we have a constant distance between this edge and on the upper ones as well. Okay, and now if I enable Turbo Smooth again, it looks pretty good. Let me just press G to disable the grid. I'm gonna hit show end result. I'm gonna hit iceline, because I want to make some tweaks with the constraints on. I'm gonna try to smoothen up the edges quite a bit. Let's delete this here. Okay, this looks fine. This is now acceptable. Okay, let's move on to the screws. And you may be wondering, okay, what's a good way to do screws? But what I usually do is you could do that with floating geometry, but for the sake of this tutorial, let's actually just model it in. So let me think. Let's just press Alt and X and just make like some loops to isolate this area where we want the screws to be. and I'm praying that it works. So I'm gonna hit inset here, and then I will delete it. I'm usually using another tool for that, but I'm not sure if everybody has installed that tool, so I'm just trying to use Max's inbuilt tool for that. Yeah, and it's very bad because for some odd reason it never does the same the same size for the holes, but I think we can just manually do that ourselves. It's not a huge deal. So just scale it out. Yeah, it looks about the same. It's fine if you eyeball it. It's mostly covered by the hand as well, and if it's close enough, nobody's gonna notice that it's different. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just going to select all the edges with the border mode. I'm gonna hold shift and just scale it down, just like that, and I'm just gonna move it in, and that's it. And if I press Alt X now, as you can see, we have the holes, but I actually want them to be bigger because I'm not planning to do them to have them modeled in, and it's going to be completely a normal map detail. So I want to make them bigger, so they are bigger pixels in my normal map. So I'm just going to backtrack for that. And now the screws, they should be pretty simple as well. So we're just gonna use a cylinder, and we are gonna use, let's say 32 are going to be enough for, as you can see, this looks like really twisted, and the way we can fix it is by just adding another loop right at the edge here as well. And if we look at it again, now it is perfectly round over here. Okay, so cylinder, and move it up, scale it down a bit. Okay, and now it's gonna get interesting because you wanna wonder how we are going to make the head of the screw, and it's actually pretty simple. First I'm gonna move it in like that, and I want to press Alt and X, and I'm gonna select these two guys, hit connect, as well as this, and I'm gonna select these two guys here, hit inset, and I'm just gonna move them out like that. And the one in the back, I'm just gonna select it and just move it up slightly. Now you might be wondering, okay, why did we do that? As you can see, when we had it all flat, we couldn't really see the back portion of the object, and if we had done it the way it was, as you can see, we cannot see this area when we if we stayed very faithful to the reference and we did it like that. If we baked the normal map later on, we wouldn't be able to see most of the details, or we couldn't really read the shape of the screw, because as you can see, if we, exaggerate the angles, if you see it from a completely flat left side, you can still read the shape. And like I said, I want it to be a normal detail. This is not going to be a geometry. We are not going to have it modeled in the low poly. And if we bake the normal map, we would barely get any details of the screw. Whereas when we exaggerate the details a bit, we can actually read the shape of the screw from the side view as well. And this is why I did that, pretty much. Okay, now the final part. Just gonna select this all and hit inset. I'm not sure if I should do that. I just do that. Yeah, this is not good. So just inset this. I'm actually just looking for a fast way to do it. Quickly, I want to reset the X form here. So just go to that wrench, select X form, reset selected, and just collapse all. And maybe now the inset modifier is gonna work nicely. It's definitely better. Yeah, I'm just gonna do it like that, and I'm gonna go to the top viewport, and I'm just gonna align the stuff back again. It's not a huge issue. Okay, I'm gonna just connect some stuff. I don't want to leave everything blank. Okay, just like that. And now I will just put one loop here. I'm gonna go to the back side. I'm just gonna scale up this again. And just gonna put one here, one in the middle here, and important, select or connect these two guys with a cut tool, and this guy here. And now hopefully it should smooth really nicely. Yeah, it looks really good. You could add one more edge here, but it's not necessary. It looks fine like that anyway. Yeah, it looks okay. So I'm just gonna move it where it belongs. Actually, if you feel like you want to have this sharper, you can just hit chamfer. It's not a method I really like, but it's gonna do the job fine, as you can see. It's really nice. Okay, and I'll rotate it a bit so it looks natural. Let's actually stay true to the reference, and on the bottom as well. Okay, now we have this detail done. But we are currently missing it on the other side. So what can we do? Well, we can just use symmetry. And that's it for the screws over here. Now we can move on. Let's actually do the receiver. Well, I'm actually planning to do most of this in ZBrush, and honestly, I could just like use Boolean and make all this one object, right? And then just model it out. But ZBrush has a feature called Dynamesh, which essentially will allow us to do that and, you know, to weld these parts without any effort, basically. So I'm just gonna make this like it's a separate piece. Hope it makes sense. So I'm not gonna connect the objects together and then have loops run through here and there. Okay, so let's just add support loops. I'm gonna hide unselected. Here as well. Alright. Just gonna make sure that this is really clipping here. And next is going to be this here. I don't select it. I think it's time for us to first refine the magazine before we do that, because I want to figure out how the cuts are supposed to look. So we'll take my magazine, transparent material here. And the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually going to chamfer the edges. So select the object, hit ring. First, let's connect the edges here. Hit chamfer. Oops, I completely ignored the top section. Also gonna have a loop run through here. Okay, now we can try it again. I think my chamfer is way too extreme. I'm just gonna unhide it all. Okay. That looks good. And here I'm just gonna delete it. I'm just gonna make this here. Which is like something every gun magazine has almost. Okay. Now I'm gonna hit edit poly. I'm gonna bridge this here. I'm gonna cap this here. This here. Cap this. Okay. I'm gonna select all of this and just hit inset. Make sure it's just not a huge amount. I think this is enough. I'm just gonna delete everything here now. I'm gonna go to the top viewport. Just gonna fine tune this. And now it's time for me to hit make planar on some faces and edges. So here hit make planar with what's going on? It should work. I'm not sure why it's not working. What about here? Well, it's okay. I know why. For some odd reason, I don't know why myself, but in the added poly modifier, make planar is buggy, and if I do it now again, it should be fixed. Yeah, as you can see, it's now made the face completely planar without the strange deformation. And sometimes we barely notice planar changes, but they are there. So, okay, it's fixed now. What's left is we need to bridge these guys. And next is to go to border mode and just shift extrude down. That's enough. Okay, we have made the magazine pretty much now. What's still left is the bottom thing here. So I think the bottom piece should be a separate piece. That's why I'm gonna make it new plane, slightly conform it to the magazine. Make sure to remove the segments. I'm just gonna chamfer the pieces now by being in verticing mode and hitting chamfer. I'm gonna select an edge and then just hit connect. Well, you can use insert vertex, so just insert vertex here, go back to your verticing mode and just try to adjust it. Select this and that and just hit connect. And for visibility reasons, I'm gonna select these two and hide unconnected. Symmetry, flip, added poly on top, hold on, I'll hide all, okay. I just want to smooth this out more, maybe this. Move it down like that. Just manually tweak it a bit. And to make it a bit more stylized, I'm gonna go to quick slice and I'm just gonna slice one edge right here, and then I'm gonna hit control. If you hit control, hold on. If you hit control while selecting an edge and click that, it will automatically select every vertex associated with that edge. Just a chamfer here. Okay, it looks really good. Now we just have to cap this guy off. And we're done with that piece. And you will always notice the faces are not planar if you have bad shading. Like in this case, you can see some edges or some artifacts here. So this is a perfect opportunity to use make planar. And now the artifacts are completely gone. I'm gonna do it here as well. And yep, that's it. And now we can just add our support loops like we used to do it on the other pieces. This should be really fast as well. Now let's do the barrel here. And this piece here. Here, just delete these guys, and just hit one turbo smooth. We don't need more than that. But we have some screws here, which we will be doing later. But what about this here? I think we can make this area a bit sharper. I'm gonna use quick slice to make one here. Okay, looks really decent. Now over here, I'm just gonna use chamfer. Put the tangent back to 5, and again you can find every modifier here. And just decrease the amount. And we got it. This piece is going to be interesting, but it's not hard at all. I'm just gonna delete the faces beneath because they're not visible anyway. So I don't see any point keeping them. So let's see. What I will do is I will actually hit smooth 30. I will hit turbo smooth and enable the smoothing groups tick box, and then just collapse it. And after that I will just delete some unnecessary loops here, and I will look at the reference again, just give it a transparent material. Okay, I will select these two guys and just move it out. Then I will select this on both sides, and I will hit inset, and then bevel, and after that inset again. And now I will just apply a material to it. Okay, here I'm just looking at reference again, and everything seems to fit. So what we need to do is we need to add some loops here, and then here, you know that. Here as well. Oops. If we hit turbo smooth, we actually get a really nice result here. I really dig it. And I'm just gonna leave it like that because in the texturing process I'll just paint this black so it looks like a fake hole. Okay, this piece is gonna be really fast as well. Okay. These wraps actually, we can do them really easily as well. So what I want to do is I wanna just unfreeze all for now and hide unselected these two guys. Just gonna give it a transparent material here. I'm gonna remove the turbo smooth modifier. And my next step is to make a new plane. Hit create. And just start from here actually. Literally just trying to drag it down, and now I'm just gonna move it towards the object. Okay. Okay, and this is basically how to do bandages around your object. Okay, so we're done with the bandages. I know they were quite tedious, but thankfully they're now out of the way, and we can go to the high quality viewport and check out how they look. That looks pretty decent. So yeah, I think we should move on, and let's just cover this piece here. Or actually, let's cover this first. Hit inset. Hide on selected. And let's just use quick slice. Not sure what's going on, really. Let me first try to connect these vertices. Let's try again, hopefully it works. Let's hit ring, connect here as well, ring, connect. And move it back here. Okay, if I now disable or unhide all, it should look really good. Yep. I'm gonna select these two here still, and I'm just gonna hit connect twice. Do it again. Okay, now it looks really good. Now it looks really good, I mean. So I'm gonna move this in a bit. And this piece is really fast as well. Here I'm just gonna scale it down twice. Let's cover this piece. Should be a fast one as well. I'll make sure to make this sharper by just placing the support loops closer. Now we have a nice hard edge going through here. Maybe this one is a little bit too close, so I'm just gonna move it down as well as here. Okay, with that out of the way, let's cover this little piece here. Easy as well. Just take your Swift Loop tool, now all that's left is this piece here and some minor stuff such as this detail here and these bolts here, and then the main body. So here I'm going to use quick slice. Let's look at the ref. Actually, we need to put in the hole, and I think I can do that real quick by just selecting these guys here. Actually goes to about here. I'm just going to use a box primitive. I don't want to mess or deal with this too much, so hide unselected, then go to the front like so. Just drag out a box, back, editable poly. This needs to be about here actually. This looks good, and now I'm gonna go to the compound object, pro boolean, subtraction, make sure no edge removal is applied, and here we go. I'm just double checking everything. Okay, just gonna start picking it. Here we go. I'm thinking actually, so I'm thinking whether we could just do this detail in the brush. Actually, I think I will, but before I'm just gonna hit this button. Gonna go select this, go down here, clear all, and just give it a random number, like so. I want to give this a different number as well, so it's hard now, as you can see. And once I've that, I'm just gonna go to my turbo smooth. I actually want to make sure this is a different smoothing group. as well as this. So make sure to give it a random number. Don't give it the same number, because if you give like this the same number, it will actually have a same smoothing group. So make sure the area where you want a different smoothing have different numbers. Okay, now I can explain what I'm going to do. So as you can see, I've given these guys different numbers to, let's compare to these. As you can see, this one was 6, this one was 2, and this is 1, and this is 20, like this area. And if I now go to Turbo Smooth and hit Smoothing Group, it will actually retain the areas, but it will also give me more geometry. And I notice that these guys don't have any group assigned, so we'll just quickly do that. And now check it out. It doesn't look different if you look at the unshaded mode without wireframes, but if you check out this curvature here, it's much smoother, and this is going to be really useful for ZBrush later on. And this is buggy now. I think this has, it's because we messed with it earlier, I think, but it's not a huge issue. Okay, so I want to actually make a copy of this for later on. Stock copy pre-boolean, and I want to make a new layer. So create layer. I'm just gonna name this pre-bool, and now my stock, which is my low poly later on, is still saved in here. I can turn this off. Just continue working now. Actually, turn this on because I want to align it perfectly here. Okay, now I can turn it off. Okay, so and now I want to go back to box primitive. And I just want to hit poly, move this up to here, move this down to here, make this thinner, and now I'm just going to move it back. I'm going to hit, what the hell is this? Oh, okay. I'm just going to hit subtraction here now. Of course, make sure it's on no edge removal. And as you can see, we have a lot of definition on all shapes, and I will show you how we can benefit from that once we are in ZBrush. And what we need to do now is I'm just going to use turn to poly and hit keep polygon size in 4-sided faces, and I'm actually just going to leave it like that. So now it will ask you what you want to unhide every layer. You want to hit no, because we don't want to hit we don't really want to unhide our pre-bool layer. Actually, I'm sorry. We need to backtrack a bit because I'm gonna actually have to make a copy of that as well. And I'm just gonna name it bool stock. I'm gonna toggle my layers. I'll move this guy. Hold on. I'm just gonna name it Z. Okay, now, and I'm just gonna put this in here. Now I can subtract again. I'm sorry. So just make sure to make a copy of that as well. Now here, turn to poly. Limit polygon size. Hit OK. Unhide all. No, just delete that. OK. And here, what we're going to do is we're going to make a cylinder. Okay. And we basically have everything turned into a high poly, really. But now we need to make these details here. And I think we can do this one in ZBrush. But I want to introduce you to a concept called floating geometry. No, actually we need to still do that here. So inset here, just give it an inset amount. And I think I'm gonna just boolean this area really. So just connect these edges vertically. And here just use cut horizontally to here. Same here as well. So I'm gonna go with that. And as you can see, we have more geometry now. But we need to make a box primitive for the cutout. I'll go to the left viewport. Actually gonna match it here. Editable poly. Gonna make a cut here, around here, and I'm gonna make the area thinner. Give them this material again. Here I'm gonna actually use extrude to about here. Okay. I'm gonna do a test boolean. Okay. I'm gonna actually take this and move it down to about here. Then I'm gonna take this and just make a hole over here for the bullets. Setting the support loops here. Subtraction. Okay, so I think we need to rethink the way we want to boolean. So I'm just gonna delete this here, delete, and then just cap this here off. And I want to make sure I know how many sides this has. So 10. Delete this. 40 sides. Okay. Or actually, I'm making my life way too hard right now. You can just use this like that. And now I can use this, or main body, as a Boolean object for this area. Oops, I need to detach this here. And then delete this here. Once I've done that, I just need to cap it. Now I can do a test boolean again. Subtraction here. Yep, and this looks way better. Let's do no edge removal. And I think we can take this guy here and move it to about here. Now we can delete this here. Delete this. Try to align the edge here. Okay, and now if we use for Boolean again. Okay, I forgot to cap the back side of the cylinder. You have to make sure you cap the Boolean objects so there's no empty space colliding with it. Okay, and what I'm gonna do now is I'm gonna select everything, including the cylinder here. I'm gonna make a copy and name this pre-boolean or pre-bool body. I'm gonna toggle the layer explorer, hide on selected here. Here I have my objects that are for Boolean purposes. Actually, yep, just select these guys. Just make sure it's here. Okay. And what I'm going to do now is I'm going to go to edit poly, editable poly, and I want to make more segments here. So turbo smooth, smoothing groups. This here is enough. Then here I don't need to do anything really, but the inside cylinder needs the same treatment. Okay, so once we have everything done around here, the next step would be to use Boolean. So compound objects, pro Boolean, no edge removal. So first I want to hit union with these guys, this guy as well. And then I want to hit subtraction here and here. Union here as well. This guy, I don't want to put this guy into the same, because I believe this is a different piece. So edit poly, vertex cleaner. It's gonna take a while because yeah, vertex cleaner is trying to clean so many, or trying to find so many stray verts. And now here, turn to poly. Let me polygon size to 4. Okay, so we have this piece as one body. We have an issue here. I don't think it's going to be an issue in 3ds Max, in ZBrush, but it's fixed now anyway. Okay, next step would be back to perspective. Use the left viewport. And just make the thing here. Just gonna move it down a bit. And I want to delete this here. I don't know why I made this. Okay. Now, as the last thing, we need to add this strap over here, and I'm just gonna hijack a piece of this here. Okay. And finally, the last piece. Okay, and we're almost done here. I'm gonna make a save, call it high poly. Just make a new save, don't overwrite the low poly or the blockout. Okay, and let me think. Yeah, the bolts here. Just gonna use let's use a sphere here, 12-sided. Or actually 32-sided. Add a double poly. And that's a little cool trick. It's called floating geometry. If you put the same material in, and make some borders around your geometry, it will actually look like it's modeled in, but in reality it's not really modeled in at all. So it's a really cool trick. And I'm going to use symmetry. And you have to make sure it's as close as possible to the to the object you want to use floating geometry. Okay, and I want to copy this object like so. I want to copy it, but make sure it's on clone to element. I'm going to delete this border here and move all the way over here and make sure to put 2 here. Just move it back. Let's see how symmetry is holding up. Looks good. Let's see if we are missing any detail now. Well, we're only missing this detail, but we are going to do it in ZBrush. So yeah, our high poly is pretty much done. It's not completely done because we are going to be turning this guy and this guy into ZBrush. We are going to make a proper high poly of this guy and this guy in ZBrush, but so far I really like how it's looking. And yeah, I will see you in the next video.